This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
To the highway in a brand new day. Over the rainbow, gotta let it go. So fast to finger down. Stars tonight together. Here everyone's singing. 你看到我就怕，头皮发麻，我的手。
Hi everyone, it is Mike. It is 12:56 Eastern Daylight Time on July 25th. Welcome back to the Voice Gate. We will be getting to the full episode in a second. Just wanted to jump in here in light of news breaking about 45 minutes ago. This was released by the Dragongate official Twitter account, and then later with a link to a blog post that Kaito Ishida has left the company. He has not wrestled in Dragongate since the Okinawa trip in June. I think I looked it up. His last date was June 19th, and he's been absent from cards since. And he was not listed on the final Ultimo Dragon 35th anniversary show card that was announced yesterday. And the reason why I list the time here is because what y'all are about to hear is our episode with Dragongate J, kind of like how we did last year, previewing Kobe World Weekend. I didn't have a heads up about the Ishida news, and when we recorded this was yesterday after the Kobe Sambo Hall show, just so that you all know, just in light of things, the time frame of how things are working. And also, Case and I will be back on Open the Voice Gate tomorrow night, and we will be talking about the Kaito Ishida news, and also looking into the final card going into Ultimo Dragon's 35th anniversary show and Kobe World Pro Wrestling Festival 2022. So, just wanted to jump in there and give you all that note. Anyways, here is our episode with Jay. Welcome back to Open the Voice Gate. It is time for our annual Kobe World Weekend preview. I'm Mike Spears, joined alongside, as always, Case Lowe, and joining us again to preview the biggest week in Dragongate's year is the official English voice of Dragongate, Jay. Jay, how's it going today?
Pretty good. Thanks for having me.
So, Jay, we had you on in the lead up for Kness's retirement, and that was in April. And it's something where, at least in my opinion, I know Case has his own kind of read of how things have felt. It feels like the last 3 months and change have been a pretty tumultuous few months. Jay, how is your feeling about the company going into the biggest week in the year?
See, before I answer that, I was actually going to decline this invitation to come on this show because I realized that I'm, in the past, I would have come on here just as, kind of another fan coming on to, talk about the state of things. And, now the position is a little bit different in that I'm kind of on here to also kind of sell the show, I guess, because I'm on the show.
Sure. Yeah.
So I was going to say no because I didn't want to come on here and, I don't know, be like super negative about the show or be, whatever. I also didn't want to come on and be kind of fake about it. Like if I got invited to do some other radio show, I would have put the professional hat on and went and sold as best I could, but I don't want to, I think the people that are listening to this show are probably going to be on the same wavelength already on a lot of this stuff. And that being said, I feel not so good about things.
It's something that at least I initially, like when they announced the Ultimo 35th anniversary, I was like, all right, that makes sense for it. And it's something, at least I know we've talked about this case about building up for 2 nights instead of one has proved to be, at least from like how I've been feeling about it, it's something that they have not figured out yet, how to build up 2 separate big shows at the same.
Has anybody? I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know.
That was going to be my point. Was I think the New Japan 2 dome shows, and then they did a third this year that was a little bit more of a standalone with the Noah inclusion, but no one has figured out a logical way to do 2 world title matches in 2 nights. That is a continuous struggle, no matter who's doing it.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with that. And also kind of the idea that if you're doing all 4 title matches, if you're doing 4 championship matches on both nights, it leaves you hamstrung on what you can announce for the second night. So I almost think that, actually not almost, I think that maybe it would have been a better move just to have the first night be entirely dedicated to celebrating. Have all the big names in. Santo's going to be there. They've got all the guys coming in for the anniversary matches. Muto is going to be there supposedly. And just kind of go on that, and then have the second night be the standard world. With all the championship matches. That may have been the better way to go on it. It's not. Beyond that, though, the stuff that is there isn't super hot. The Twin Gate stuff. The Twin Gate match is going to be a good match. Probably be the best match of the weekend. But I also have a feeling it's going to be like the opener on the first night, so it's going to be out of the way really fast and then quickly forgotten. And the stuff with the Dream Gate. I mean, it's polarizing, right? I mean, I don't know. I know the snap judgment on the Dreamgate stuff from pretty much everybody. I mean, I said it to Ho-Ho as I was standing up to leave, and that, it felt like they shit the bed there, that it needlessly complicated things. Now, I mean, I don't know how you guys felt about it.
Well, I'll say this as somebody who came into 2022 thinking, wow, if they handle Coach Minoru right, I really think he can be in a headlining position at World this year. And through the first 3 or 4 months of 2022, which is a time where I was really into a lot of the different beats going on in Dragongate, it's like, I think they're going to do it with Minoru. I like Gold Class. I mean, the last time you were on, Gold Class had just formed, and I was raving about this unit. I love the way they were laid out. I love their presentation. And as they've dipped more and more into becoming a heel unit, with the real big focal point being that angle at the July Korakuen, it was like, I don't know if you're like a TEW or like EWR player, but that was one of those, that show closing angle was one where everybody in the segment lost overness. And I went from really campaigning hard for Minoru and thinking that he was a guy that could be in this top spot, along with Yoshioka, who I also really like, to now going like, oh, I don't know if I want any of these guys in the main event scene. Like, I like the players involved, but the way they got there has really actively turned me off from everybody.
Yeah. My thought on this, basically, at the end of the day, my thought is this: if they wanted to cement Kota as a heel, the angle's fine. If they're doing all of this to create extra conflict for Yoshioka, he has to go through Kai on the first night, and then he has to go through Minoru on the second night. All things considered, at the end of the day, if on August 1st Yoshioka is the champion, then it's good. It's fine. That being said, did they need to do it this way, and is the timing proper here? I don't think so. I think that it just kind of murkied the waters that didn't need to be murkied. I mean, Yoshioka was over. He had momentum. People liked him. People were getting behind him. You could have just as easily done Kondo versus Kai on the first night, doing the same deal of Kondo promising, look, I'm not interested in wrestling Kai. Yoshioka, I want to wrestle you for the title. So let's do it. You do Kondo versus Kai on the first night. Kai cheats to win, or whatever. He wins, goes in. Yoshioka beats him the second night. And then from there, you have, well, Yoshioka is like, Kondo, you got cheated out of your match. I'm willing to give you a title match. Let's do it. You do the match in Cork, and then you do the stuff with Minoura. Maybe that's a better way to do it, but that's not how they did it. So
Yeah, it's something where I feel like that overwhelmingly, like the main story and the main characters of the year have been decouraged with the way that they kicked off the year in Corkin and walking out of the first 2 days in Corkin, both of them having all the belts that SBK had, and it just kind of felt like that they did all the care for Yoshioka, where he was like the clear wrestler of King of Gate, and everything seemed to be really going strongly in his direction. It just is something that I don't know. I'm someone that I kind of like the clean anointing of someone at Kobe World in a ways, and as you said, it just murkies it in a way that Yoshioka feels less over. It felt kind of unnecessary that Yoshioka had to like entertain any of this to begin with being King of Gate winner, and it's something that with Gold Class, especially after they dropped the Triangle Gate, that them kind of, it was something that you were talking about where people weren't able to kind of figure it out. Now they have figured it out there, and with Minoura, I don't know if it's working the way that it was working a few months ago with this unit, with this concept, and I don't know if the winning 2 falls straight and all of this is something that's going to make him come off feeling better.
no, I mean, the unit is death. The unit is such. I mean, Minoura. I know people are going to shut this episode off. Minoura has done the incredible feat of making Naruki Doi not over. I mean, like if the entire purpose of Gold Class is to get Minoura over, and it hasn't worked. And if anything, Doi is now dead in the water. Ishida is not around. He's hurt. Minorita's the only one that's actually coming out of this with an improved position to date, anyway. So I don't know. I think we might need to start blowing stuff up after World and reshuffling. I mean, their entrance music is like really cheap, so there was always, even from the beginning, the fact that their entrance music was never improved upon was kind of like a flat. People were taking it as a flag that it was only a short-term unit, but I don't think it was intended to be that way. But it might end up having to be that way. Even like
Jay, go ahead. Sorry.
Their new T-shirt is just the same logo in a different color. Like, no effort to actually make a new T-shirt.
What do you make of the philosophy right now in Dragongate, where they've got really 3 heel units? I think that's a little peculiar, and New Japan ran into this issue when the pandemic first started, and right when they came back, they were doing all of these angles generated to get heat, but they were in positions where the crowd couldn't, literally based on the rules, couldn't give those desired reactions. We're more used to this now, obviously, outside of the 20 glorious minutes of the Toryumon reunion show, but it seems like they're pivoting towards like, okay, well, we've got Z-Brats, we've got Gold Class, we've got Peros, let's get heat. And I don't know if that's the best thing to do in the current environment.
Well, Paros isn't going to be Paros isn't a Dragon Gate unit. I mean, that's.
I thought they were running the company.
No.
I'm so sorry.
Like, that's going to be over at World. Whatever it is, whatever it is. I hope they let Eita go. I mean, it's probably not, but anyway. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what honestly, I don't know what the thinking is. Like, I couldn't even tell you. I mean, it feels like ultimately one of these groups is going to go away, and we're either going to have Z-Brats or we're going to have Gold Class. You know, there could be something with, High End implodes, Minoura ends up leaving Gold Class to go to Z-Brats, and like him and, let's say, Benkei, for example, go to Z-Brats, and then Gold Class ends up restructuring around Doi, Yamato, and just kind of, there's a lot of different avenues to go with. I mean, I think the idea right now is that Gold Class are a different type of heel from Z-Brats. So because of that, you're going to not necessarily have the same kind of heat on that. Z-Brats are going to be the traditional, cheating heels, whereas Gold Class are going to be the strong heels. But, I don't know. I feel like that's all something that's going to get worked out after.
Yeah, it does feel like that, where in past years, especially like last year, where it was kind of the holding pattern until after World. It just seems like that the World is happening in the middle of a extremely long unit shuffle. And
yeah, instead of everything being ready in time for World, and World being kind of the kickoff,
right,
where everything is finally in place. And I think the Triangle Gate is kind of, how can I, like, it's the most, I'm blanking on the word I want this. It's the symbolic on all of this, because it's on the center, the centerpiece of the Dragon Gate 6-man tag championships is on this other team from another, this team from another promotion. And we've got M3K going for it on the first night, and now we've got a 3-way on the second night with High End and Vibes. But it doesn't feel like it's going to be a Dragon Gate-esque. Neither one of them feels like it's going to be a Dragon Gate-esque 6-man tag, Dragon Gate-esque Triangle Gate match. It feels like it's just going to be something else to forward this Peros thing with, whether it continues on and, GM has to get involved, or, whatever is going to happen.
yes. So
Doesn't.
Oh yeah, no, it's something that coming out of today's Kobe Sambo Hall show, they set up the Triangle Gate that Benkei has really kind of found the confidence to talk that he hasn't had for years, and we could talk about if that's a good thing or not. But so on the 30th at Ultimo's 35th anniversary show, we have Peros Del Mal de Japón, Nasao Rongai, Eita, and Kataru Suzuki defending against M3K, Masaki Mochizuki, Susumu Mochizuki, and Mochizuki Jr. And the winners will face, as Jay was saying, Natural Vibes and High End on the 31st in a 3-way match. M3K.
Kanda is the special referee on the first night.
Is he going to get the special referee shirt?
Probably the blue shirt with the M2K
Yes.
logo. Hope maybe a neck brace. I don't know. No, that was Nosawa wanted Saito to be the referee. Saito said, "I'm going to be busy, but if you want a special referee, you can have one." And Kanda's got nothing going on, so Kanda can be the ref. So Kanda's going to ref the match.
Just the match on the 30th or the 31st?
Just the 30th. I'm assuming there's going to be like a Kung Fu versus M3K 8-man on the second night or something.
So M3K, we have not talked about M3K, Jay, since Mochizuki Jr.'s debut. Boy, what a wool over the eyes pull off with that. And since then, Mochizuki Jr. had a little bit back issues, has come back out, and is now kind of where I guess we kind of figured he would be going into this weekend. What's been your impression about the latest M2K revival so far?
When Junior's not around, it's kind of sad. There was, like, when he got hurt and he was out, there was like those shows in Fukuoka where it's just like it's a bunch of old guys with bleach blonde hair, so it's kind of sad. But when he's around, it's cool. I like the idea of Mochizuki forcing these guys to go and bleach their hair and come out on the kickboards to help, get his kid started in his career. I wouldn't mind if they won the titles. I think it would be a cool story. I don't know what the long-term future of it is. Ultimately, it's got to lead to Junior and Dad having a singles match with him saying, "Look, I don't need your help anymore," and they wrestle, and then that's the end of M3K. It feels like that's the ultimate end of it, but it's cool. It's a standard nod to the past while playing to the future thing. So it's cool.
On our end, we were completely taken aback by the announcement that Mochizuki Jr. existed. I believe at some point I knew that Mochizuki had a kid, but I did not know he was obviously training to be a wrestler. Was that something, when that was unveiled at the Toryumon show, was that a surprise to most people in attendance?
For fans, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Like, it had never been, like, they had protected his identity as a young boy. That's why they gave him the Edo name from the time that he started appearing at ringside. So yeah, I don't think no one knew. It was a big shock for people not.
And I feel like that they kind of took care. Like, I only remember one Future match with Junior making tape, so it wasn't like that they exposed them enough they can be like, hey, he kind of looks like Mochi here. So I feel like that they had him out there just enough that it could get pulled off to get the reaction.
Yeah. It's one of those things. It's such a ridiculous story that no one would see it coming. Like the idea that when it's usually those types of things, it becomes a news story before the debut to drum up attention for the debut match. We saw it with with the Ihashis, Strong Machine J. There was the press conference announcing that he was debuting. So typically in those situations there'd be some kind of something. Like Minoru Tanaka and Yumi Fukawa's daughter joined something. I don't remember which group she joined, but she joined something. So she's going to be
Wave.
Another thoroughbred wrestler coming out. They had a press conference to announce she was joining. She said she was going to start training. That's not even like to become, to debut as a wrestler or anything like that, just that she was starting training to see if she likes it or not. So, typically in these types of situations, especially in Japan where this is like a big deal, they would have, the expectation would be that this would be announced beforehand. So it was cool how they.
Are there any kids in the current Future class that have really caught your eye?
Kato, the power guy. He's the really big dude.
Yeah.
He was on the show today against Nagano. He's because of his size, I think he's going to get all the chances. He's also pretty athletic. And Nishikawa is also really good. Also super athletic. He can fly, and he's tall like Skywalker, so he's kind of in the Skywalker mold of he's going to be a big kind of just because of how much bigger he is than everybody. He's going to have that power advantage, but he can also fly. I don't know what kind of timeline those guys are on, but they both. I think one of them will probably end up going overseas without debuting, but which one it's going to be, that kind of changes with the wind. So. And Nagano is good, but he's nondescript, so he's kind of fighting. He's going to be fighting an uphill battle to stand out amongst this group.
Yeah, I think it was last week that had Kato versus Nagano, and Kato. It's something maybe that we're so used to. Like, Dragongate heights for the most part are pretty gradual, but like seeing him like just kind of like tower over and away, I was like, oh, this, if he makes it through, this kid's going to get a lot of shots. And it was kind of impressive to me, at least in future matches, that he was willing to already use his size in exhibitions. And I thought that was pretty, I thought that was a pretty encouraging thing to see so early.
Yeah, I think he's got great monster heel potential in him just because of how big he is, and he's kind of got a, I don't want to say he's ugly, but he's kind of got that, like he could kind of mean mug and be that kind of overpowering heel. Yeah, I think he's going to be good, if as long as he, makes it through his first 18 months or, whatever it is.
If he makes it. I think that's kind of a lesson we have learned over the last years is give them time, let it see how things shake out, and then kind of take stock a year in and see like, okay, we'll see if he is sticking around, because he does have kind of like, I don't want to call him like a Shrek like person, but he does have like the monster heel look that he's going to have some really good just monster looks when they decide to have him do a heel.
Yeah, he's also I think he's the one I think is ex-police. So I don't know. Do with that information what you will in terms of.
I believe it was the last time Jay was on that he said the last time I went all in on a rookie, he turned into, unfortunately, being a DJ. And that is a lesson that, once again, Dragongate fans have learned the hard way over the past 6 months with Sato and Ricky going away, that, whew, boy, those rookies look promising. And it unfortunately does not always turn out to be what we thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I mean, Sato, it was a miracle he got as far as he did. I think the intention was it ended the way it was always going to end. I think he was just trying to push it, but ultimately it was going to always end this way. As for Ricky, mental health is a bitch. It's something that I don't know him. I didn't never really talk to him that much, but I can glean, from his history. He kind of went through the same thing in acting when he was in acting school. He was in a very prestigious acting school here in Tokyo. Like he got scouted to go, so he was on like a free ride at this acting school, and he just, decided one day he didn't want to be an actor. You got to do what you got to do. I mean, if it's what you're doing is not making you happy, then you got to stop doing it. So, it's from the perspective of, he was a promising rookie in Dragongate and all that. From that perspective, it sucks. But from the other perspective, I've got to give it to him for having the courage to do it.
Yeah,
So,
and
yeah, absolutely.
And to figure it out, and not have to put yourself through it if you're not of the mental space to wanting to be there. I mean, pulling the ripcord, saving himself, I mean, makes perfect sense. I mean,
yeah,
being able
I think so. And Fuda, I know people are asking about Fuda. Fuda's around. He broke something. Ho-Ho said he broke his ribs, but he also wasn't entirely sure about that information, what exactly he broke, but he broke something. He's around. He's just not ready. He's not.
Have you had any interactions with Kakuta since he returned? He's been somebody that has intrigued me because it seems like one night he's on and I look at him and I think, yeah, that's a guy that can go back to challenging for the Dreamgate one day. And then some nights I'm like, he needs to be in an 8-man with Punch. Like I don't know where his head's at right now.
No, we've kind of got this inside joke in that I'm a curse if he talks to me, because we had kind of like a long chat, like I kind of had like a get to know you chat with him just so I could talk about him on commentary for his Dreamgate title match, and then he went out and got hurt. So now it's kind of like I see him and he kind of gives me like the, oh, I can't talk to you. it's all in fun, but it's kind of I haven't really chatted that much with him since then because.
Well,
what about? Sorry,
ahead,
Mike.
guys.
I've got one more question. Just while we're talking about names and guys on the roster, and we maybe could have got to this during Kobe World Preview, but I'm just curious now since you talked about guys that have gotten hurt recently. The confidence that we've seen from Strong Machine J. This is a guy who I was super critical of for the longest time. I thought the machines served their purpose, but I personally got tired of it really soon. the machines ended, he gets thrown into Dragongate Generation, and I don't really think he ever found his place there. 6 months ago, I was very concerned about his long-term stability within Dragongate. Now he's one of my favorite wrestlers in the company. Do you have any insight onto what has changed with Strong Machine J? Because he carries himself like such a more confident man than he was doing at this time last year.
He's healthy, and they gave him something to do. I mean, he was always good. It's just the Machines gimmick itself, the Machines team itself was death, because the style, it's this Showa era gimmick, and they've got to work that machine style, and it's just not something that's conducive to the Dragon Gate environment. And besides, I mean, he's always been very good. He's always been a great talker, very confident, and I think putting him with Natural Vibes, it allows him to develop a character outside of just being Strong Machine J's kid, or Super Strong Machine's kid.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what jumped out to me is I obviously didn't know he was a world-class breakdancer, but I'm just seeing charisma from him that I didn't know he had in him, because his sole purpose is no longer just identifying as Strong Machine J.
Yeah.
And it's something that at least like he's behind the 8 ball just because of the fact that he has his dad's mask. You can't really see any facial emotions out of it, but him going into and tapping into his history of breakdancing in a way, it just exudes physical charisma that he just was not going to be able to have in a way. And it's just like, oh, I remember seeing him on like some of the network stuff where he's talking and he came off as very charming beforehand, but I was like, I don't know how you translate that with his gimmick. Well, just have him breakdance and people can just pick up on the fact that this is an incredibly charismatic person.
Yeah, I knew he was joining Natural Vibes, like when I got kind of had a little talk about where the direction that things were going, like around February, I think, and they were like, well, Jason and Machine J are probably going to join Vibes. I was like, Jason, I could see it, but Machine J, I don't know, is it going to be like a comedy thing or what? But like it works. It really works. Like so much to the like when they were doing the stuff with him and Eita doing like the fist bumps and all that, I kind of figured that they had changed their mind and thought better of it, or whatever. But no, they stuck with it, and it worked. I mean, for me, I was ready for Vibes to end again, but they've done a great job in refreshing it and making it, continuing to make it, kind of like the bright spot, the guaranteed bright spot on on these cards that have not had a lot of bright spots these days. Personally, I've kind of felt that, like in the first half of the year, with all of the rookies on the undercard, it kind of gave you something to watch on the undercard, even if it was still a lot of kind of random tag matches. It was going to be, well, what's Fujiwara going to do tonight, or what are the Ihashis going to do tonight, or something like that. And now Takuma's in Mexico, and everyone else is out, so it's just kind of Ishin hanging on there. But otherwise, these undercards are just these kind of randomly thrown together tag matches. So like the Decourage stuff has been good, but the Vibe stuff has really been the only like guarantee, like the lock on every show is the stuff with Jack, the stuff with Jason, now the stuff with Machine J.
It's crazy to think that somebody who's been wrestling for less than a year could have such an impact not being on these shows, but that has been one of my big takeaways, is since the middle of May, not having Takuma around, exactly what you said. It's like, all right, now this match 2 6-man would be really fun if Takuma was in it, but he's not. And I don't know if you feel this way, Jay, but I feel his lack of presence has at least hurt my enjoyment of some of these shows. And I don't know if you've seen him work in Mexico yet, but in my opinion, he's adapted pretty well thus far. It seems like he's having a good time over there, but I almost need him back in Japan, just because he felt like a part of the family by the time he had left. He felt like an integral part of this promotion.
Yeah, I was saying this to Ho, that I would have held off on sending him. Not for a terribly long time, but I would have waited until after World to send him, just because he was becoming an attraction on the undercard, to the point that it feels like kind of a waste not having him around for World. I mean, you could have done, again, this is more fantasy booking out of my ass stuff here, but you could have probably gotten here in the same way that, like, if you, this thing with Benkei and High End, you could have had High End pick Fujiwara to be like a third on their team over Benkei, and then have the match, they lose, and then like afterwards High End can invite him, and then he can say no again to them, and they get rejected again by a potential recruit, and then he goes to Mexico. But it keeps him around. It gives him a spot on the world card. He could do a big moonsault, do a big dive, or whatever it was. Just kind of gives him one last spotlight before he goes, rather than having him on a third match card in Sambo Hall, and then just this cold announcement from GM and Dragon that they're going to Mexico. It felt like a waste as far as the timing goes. Estrella you could send whenever, that's fine. Fujiwara,
It was so abrupt. It was, I didn't watch that Kobe show live, so waking up and saying, "Oh wait, he's going to Mexico and he's going now," was pretty jarring.
And it's something for Fujiwara, like, even outside of like playing off of High End not being able to recruit at all, you could have had like the like nice a special singles match send off that they've done before with people, and because you look at the card, and at least without like changing any of the championship matches, you still have some people there that have been like, okay, special singles match, have Fujiwara versus Fuji. You could have done that here.
you could do it on both nights. You have him wrestle whoever on the first night and whoever on the second night. Loses both matches, and then he does the thing. Well, I came in to World, I had these two chances and I couldn't make the most of it, so I need to get stronger, so I'm going to go to Mexico. Something like that. It gives him a story for going. It gives him some spotlight before he does, and I think he comes off as better for it. But I don't know if it's because he doesn't have a U.S. visa. I know a lot of people are wondering when he was going to get booked in the U.S. He doesn't have a visa, so he's not going to be able to leave Mexico. So.
Yeah, I noticed that, and I immediately had my eyebrow raised, and I had to remind myself, he only debuted in November. These things take forever to get a visa, and he just turned the age of majority.
Yeah. My impression is the visas were a batch application, and the list of people that doesn't have them is shorter than the list of people that does. But everyone from Ishin onwards was too late for that, so those guys don't have visas. So Takuma won't be coming to the U.S. But I wish he was still around.
Yeah, no, he definitely feels mixed or missed. You brought up a Natural Vibes in with Jason. That is the Twin Gate match on the first night at Ultimo 35, going against Diamante and Shun Skywalker, him and Jackie Funky Kamei. And Jason and Natural Vibes has been such like a breath of fresh air. But the thing that's really like stood out for me, like during like this third chapter of Natural Vibes, is how much like Jackie Funky Kamei has grown into this position of first being kind of like the understudy lost post to now being just as much of a frontline fighter as anyone in this unit. And he's getting a big title match against a very imposing Twin Gate champion team in Z-Brat.
Well, it's not Natural Vibes, it's Kung Fu. It's Kung Fu Jason and Jack for this match.
Oh, I missed that from today. I did not know that they were going to be doing the Kung Fu Masters gimmick.
Well, it's Kobe, so if they're in Kobe, it's going to be Kung Fu.
I thought that was just venue specific. I did not know that we're now opening up Kung Fu Masters to the entirety of Kobe. That changes.
Well, it's it's to draw from Chinatown in Kobe, so World Hall is not that far from Sambo Hall, so. But yeah, they're going to be there as Kung Fu. But yeah, no, Jack has been. I don't know what it is. It's just leaning kind of into the goofy side of the character. The goofy, and just like kind of embracing that side of it. I think at first it was, all right, well, we're gonna make you funky, and okay, what does that mean? And like you're supposed to be this kind of serious, so you're gonna kind of turn you into this meme character, and you do the pow 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 thing where it's obvious that you don't go to clubs, you don't dance, you don't do any of this, but now kind of leaning into the absurdity of it, and also coming into the fact that he's getting more experience and he's getting really, really good. Like it was always going to be the thing, even as around the time that he had the matches with SB last year, where it's like, UT is going to be seeing, UT is going to be the one falling down. Like this, pecking order isn't going to stay the same. Jack is going to be a big problem for UT in terms of positioning in vibes, but I think they've kept the balance, really well. And adding Jason and Machine J have kind of kept the balance to the point now where no one really is the one that obviously drops the falls. Boss will lose here and there, Jason will lose, UT will lose, Jack will lose, but at the same time, it's that same position where any of them can also win at any given time. It's kind of the Hyo is the same. He's another guy that has gotten really good totally by accident. But he's now, doesn't matter if he loses because it's Hyo, but at the same time he can win at any given time. And then you're like, well, it's Hyo, he can win at any time. So, and he's a perfectly credible Brave Gate challenger now, even to the point where he goes to Noah and he wins. And from the Dragongate perspective, he in the match he wins. So from the Dragongate fans' perspective, it's like, well, that's Hyo is good like that, but at the same time, well, the Noah guys are losing to Hyo. But then when Hyo loses, it's like, well, it's Hyo, who cares? So he's that kind of like that Horiguchi position.
Yeah, I may have even asked you this at one point, but it's funny you anoint that to Hyo, because I look at Kamei and I see somebody who could really at some point fill the role that Horiguchi now has of being this public facing, energetic sort of in one being the vibe of this entire promotion. Obviously, he spent an entire year, Kamei did, with Horiguchi. Do you know if there was anything intentional on that end of preparing some of the newer generation to fill almost the PR void of a Genki and a Susumu when they eventually phase out?
No, I just think it's, Jack is a natural babyface, much like Horiguchi was.
Yeah, makes sense.
And speaking of Hyo, he's getting the Bravegate shot on the 30th against Dragon Dia. And
yes.
Jay, I'm looking at this card, and other than like the belts that we expect to move around just because of how things have been going on this, am I just talking myself into being disappointed, thinking that we might be entering like the era of the Great Brain Bravegate champion? Like we might have like the old shenanigans that like Gamma had over this title.
Well, they did announce tonight there's going to be a battle royal on the first night, and the battle royal winner gets a Bravegate shot on the second night. So that's something else maybe to consider. They didn't say who is in the battle royal, but you can kind of assume that it's probably going to be like, I don't know, Ho Ho, Shenlong, SB, Ishin, those type of guys. I don't know. My thought on this is I would rather see Dia hold on to it, but that really depends on where the other championships are going. If the Triangle Gates if the Triangle Gate is moving off of Peros and are going to go on to KZ, Boss, and Machine J, then Hyo can win the Brave Gate. But if the Triangle Gate is staying with Peros, then I'd want to see the Brave Gate stay on Dia, because I would really rather only have one championship be involved in like shitty heel shenanigans at a time.
Yeah, and the other side of that coin is that you would have at least one strong babyface champion at any.
Right. Which could be could be Yoshioka.
Sure.
And it could be Jack and Jason as Twin Gate champions. That's also something that could happen. So I don't know. I think Hyo has a pretty good chance to win here. Daya's had the title for a long time. Hyo seems to have him figured out. The double countouts were kind of his way of scouting, so to speak. So, he could have something. He could win. Feel like if the Battle Royal goes first, then whoever wins the Battle Royal might spoil it. If it's someone like SB again, then maybe that spoils the result of the Bravegate match. But I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens. Personally, my prediction, I would go with Daya for this. But Hyo does have a pretty good shot. As far as all of my predictions for the weekend, that's the one I'm least solid.
Has Daya gotten any better at skateboarding since the last time we talked?
Well, he didn't have it for a month or so.
How could I forget it was stolen from him? I enjoyed that. I enjoy any kleptomaniac Don Fuji story.
It says he can ollie now. He hasn't proved it to me.
Okay, well, I look forward to that social media coverage at Kobe World.
Yeah. I was actually planning on only being in and out. I was gonna go and like show up at bell time on the first night and do the Austin Aries roll out of the ring and walk right to the back after the bell on the second night and get out of town. But maybe on the first, I've got to go. The network is going to be there for the contract signings on the first night, so I've got to go for that. So maybe there's a chance.
I just want to see, with Skate now being in development, I think it's time to start seeing Daya put together at least a run that he can do on a skateboard. I'm not asking him to, do a full 90-second. I'm thinking about old X Games rules here, not what the Olympic is. But I think that he should be able to, at Kobe World, be able to pull off at least one trick.
Well, I told him I told him back in February, he's got 5 months to get confident enough to ollie the stairs, and he was like, he kind of made a face at me, and I'm like, you did a dive off the ramp last year, it's the same thing. And he was like, no, totally different, scary.
Well, looking at other stuff that we have on this 30th show, you mentioned that we have a whole lot of anniversaries and celebrations going on, and we still are awaiting word on the opponents for Kakuto's 20th anniversary match, where he's teaming with Jinsei Sensaki and Taro Nohashi. Nice Michinoku Pro reunion there. But Dragongate teaming with Masato Tanaka against Yamato and BB Hulk on night one. First time Tanaka's been in since Kobe World 2018, I think.
Something like.
Is Tanaka a draw for you personally at all, Jay? Because I find it very funny that he's one of the outsiders that always pops up, but I also know your taste, and I don't know if that does anything for you or not.
No, I think the only people that, in terms of the Dragongate, in terms of speaking entirely in Dragongate perspective, I think the only people that care about Masato Tanaka are like non-Dragongate fans on Twitter. I think are the only people that get excited about Masato Tanaka in Dragongate. He's like one of those guys that like I understand, I respect, respect him as a wrestler and all of that, but like doesn't fit. And the Dragongate fan base doesn't give a single. The fact that Yamato and BB Hulk are teaming together in this match, and this match has no buzz, tells you pretty much everything about this match and how what Masato Tanaka means to Dragongate fans. Again, no disrespect intended. It's a different audience.
Did Yamato wrestling a Noah mean anything to Dragongate fans. I didn't get the chance to watch that Dragongate match yet, but I'm just fascinated that that's what I assumed.
No,
but
no
I'm
synergy.
fascinated. Yeah,
There's no synergy between the two fan bases at all. On the Noah side, it's just we don't care about these Dragongate titles, and on the Dragongate side, it's just when can we get these titles out of Noah?
that's a tough conquest, but it's just interesting for me to watch Yamato in a different environment, and that was the only intrigue I had about that match, because other than that, it's just a Dragongate match that I'm not super into.
Right. I mean, it was the most Dragongate environment that he could be in an outside environment, because it's 4 out of the 6 guys are Dragongate guys, so it's not like it's not like it was him going in and wrestling, I don't know, whoever else they have in that company.
Nakajima or whoever.
Yeah, pretty much. And I mean, it's not like he hasn't wrestled Nakajima a million times anyway. So
that's true. Yeah.
I think the person we were looking for is May Baktan.
Right. I would have wished that on Yamato.
Someone, or whatever, one of the funky guys, whatever. But no, there's no, even less now than in the past. I don't think there's very little in the way of care about that. I think wrestling in general in Japan has really pared down to where people stay in their niches in terms of their fan base. Unless it's New Japan, I say this all the time. Aside from New Japan, everything else is a niche, and there's very little cross-pollination now, as opposed to maybe pre-pandemic. Because people aren't as apt to go out and see something that isn't like a guaranteed good time, I guess is the way to say.
Yeah.
No, that all lines up. I spent some time over the last few weeks looking through, just like from like a macro sense, how things have gone, at least in Cork and Hall over COVID. And it's something that like not very much correlation between promotions. And if it's not New Japan or something that is trying to think the right way to put it, something celebrating the past, it just doesn't seem like that it's breaking out much further than the core audience of the promotion. Like it was like the top 2 attended shows were all like, it was like the Jumbo anniversary.
60th anniversary shows.
Yeah. We're the only ones that came close with that had 1,500 people there.
Yeah. And everybody else has killed their business. I mean, a lot of these groups went into the pandemic not doing well. And, and the pandemic was just, the mercy shot, like the last, I don't know, bullet in the head, but it's like the extra bullet in the knees. It's the RoboCop scene, the RoboCop scene where he comes in and shoots the dude in the knees and then puts the grenade down. Like a lot of these promotions are just waiting for the grenade to blow up at this point.
Yeah. Seeing how many times Noah ran Cork over the last 2.5 years definitely made me feel that.
Don't want to. Yeah. I don't want to piss Noah fans off by talking about Noah's business. I'll leave it at this: that one of the 2 conglomerates that own multiple pro wrestling companies did things the right way with their most recent acquisition, and the other one didn't.
I think that's a very fair thing to
one
say.
One of them learned from their mistakes, and the other one has not learned from their mistakes in terms of the buildings they run and the takeaways from what they took away the right things from the results from the buildings that they ran, and are properly scaling going forward to maximize what they've learned from that, and the other promotion isn't. And you see it when you watch their shows, and has nothing to do with Dragongate. So sorry.
No, I think that's a very fair way of putting that, Jay. Something that was announced that they really haven't built up, that I know that you're definitely the person to talk to about this on the 30th, is the revival of the Bosu 10-match series for Konamawa Ichikawa.
Yeah.
Jay, do you mind like running down kind of the history of these Stalker Ichikawa trial series?
Yeah, I mean, this is like any match that has happened in history on a big show where, he's wrestled some famous outsider. The match with Takayama is probably the most famous. He's wrestled Choshu, he's wrestled Koshinaka, wrestled Aja Kong, he's wrestled. I'm drawing a
Nagata's
blank.
always been one of my favorite ones, the Yuji Nagata match.
He did wrestle Yuji Nagata. So they've got a super, super important mystery opponent. It's got to be Kojima. Because that's the meme in Japan right now. Because Noah, when they announced him as the mystery guy, it was like the mystery guy to end all mystery guys. So it's kind of become this meme now where if it's someone is X, it's got to be Kojima, because Kojima is the end all be all of mystery opponents or mystery partners. So it's got to be Kojima, right?
I was thinking that, Ultimo unilaterally booking stuff from the Isle of Capri. I was thinking that, oh, hey, put Muto in here for this. But Kojima, yeah.
I don't think Muto is going to wrestle. I think he'll show up. I mean, it could be Muta, because then he wouldn't have to do it. I mean, he would have to do even less. You just have to come out and spit mist, and that'd be it. But no, I don't think Muto. I don't think they could. I wouldn't. If you're going to bring Muto, pay me more. I would rather have
that. Yeah, my thought was Muto as well, but I don't. I want to see him versus Ichikawa, but I also don't want to see Muto. So it's a rock and a hard place with me.
Yeah,
but Kojima would be fun.
I mean, he doesn't. I mean, we don't even know. They've announced absolutely nothing for what Ultimo's match is going to be. We have to assume Santo is going to be in it. But otherwise, I mean, they haven't announced the match constellation. Is it going to be Dragon and Santo against Muto and someone? Or is it going to be a big... I mean, most of the guys you would think would be in that match, guys like Dragon Kid. Dragon Kid has a match already. I guess you could put Horiguchi in there.
And Doi.
But Doi's a heel now, so he can't be in that.
Oh God. Okay. Yeah.
Who else doesn't have a match? You could put Kondo, and you could put GM. You could put Fuji. I mean, I guess that's like Muto, Santo, and Kondo against Fuji, Horiguchi, GM, like some combination of that. Or if Muto is going to wrestle, put Muto in there. I mean, the fact that they haven't announced what type of match it is. I mean, it could be Dragon versus Santo singles match. I don't know. Gosh.
You can't have Diamante being there as the Ultimo safety guy because Diamante is in a title match.
Yeah, Diamante has a match. I mean, I thought it was going to be Dragon versus Diamante, mask versus mask. I mean, that's when they first announced that. I thought that was going to be it, but obviously not. So I guess we'll see. Who else? Oh, someone else is. Bodyguard is here too. I think.
Oh my God, that's right.
He's another guy that was announced. I've kind of lost track of all the guys that have been announced for this. So Bodyguard has been announced for this.
Right.
He's on only the first. I'm not taking proper notes on this. I have to scroll through my Twitter feed. So Nohashi and Shinzaki are there for Kagetora's match. We don't know his opponents, but I think if his opponents were going to be guys from outside, that we would know who it is by now. I think a lot of people instantly went to like Hayato, Ken, and Manjimaru.
Right. Natural Michinoku Pro crossover there.
But I think they would have announced that. I mean, obviously, it's Sunday night, it's almost 9 p.m. Japan time, Sunday night, and this stuff could all very well get announced anytime now. But I think that that's something they would have wanted to announce like in the ring ahead of time. I mean, there's also the other name that you would think would be Ishimori because he was Kagetora's debut opponent. So the idea of keeping his opponents a mystery until the last minute kind of implies that there was going to be further mystery guys coming in for it, but it could just be they just didn't want to spoil what the card was going to be until all the other matches were made, and it's just going to whoever from Dragongate. Also,
Yeah.
so Sato is going to be on both nights. Tanaka is going to be in for Dragon Kids match. Kanjiro Matsuyama is going to be on one night or both nights. I think just the second.
Oh, if he was going to be on the first night, he would have been one of the perfect people for Kakutora's match.
So Bodyguard is only going to be on the first. I think Bodyguard has got to be in Dragon's match. I think he's got to be in Dragon's match.
Is there a stronger relationship there that I'm not aware of?
They were both in All Japan. I mean, Bodyguard is a guy that has he has massive ticket selling power within his circle. So if you book him on a show, he's kind of like a power broker in that sense. So I think that they're just friends from when they were in All Japan together.
Does Santo coming over for these shows mean anything to the native fan base?
No, people don't.
That's what Mike was saying, and I was like, "Oh no, it's Santo. People still might care," but no, I was incorrect.
Not in Japan. No. Okay, so 30th and 31st has Guru-kun and Owashi are both on, and Kanjiro is on the second night only. So Owashi is also probably a pretty good candidate for Dragon's match.
I have to say, you put out the idea of on one side of the ring, heel Del Santo, and the other side of the ring, Bodyguard. And I don't know if it's the sicko side of me. I've really been embracing just like just things that just amuse myself. But Santo and Bodyguard facing off now needs to happen. You've put the thought in my head.
Yeah, it's just like a total degenerate pairing. It's got to happen.
Hey, at least the fans might not know who Santo is, or maybe have only like briefly heard of him, but I know Depot Mart would love to have some of the masks to sell.
Yeah, well, he's actually making an appearance at the fan party, but it's like him and Dragon are gonna come out like in the middle, have like a little talk show, sell expensive masks and portraits, and then dip out immediately. Like they're not gonna stick around for the whole thing. It's like whatever. So yeah, those are all the guest guys. So we've got Kagetora's match. We don't know his opponents. It could either be more guys from outside, or it could just be, I don't know, it could be Shachihoko Boy, Shisa Boy, and
Yoshida.
Or
or
Yoshida,
yeah.
or something like that. I mean, there's a bunch of guys that don't have matches. So we'll see on that. Dragon's match, we don't know yet. What else do we have here? Just to kind of run down. They did a bunch of and we've got Kai versus Yoshioka as the main event for the first night.
And what's your read on the Dreamgate scene? Is there an outcome that you think is more likely than others?
Yoshioka winning both matches is the only outcome to me.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
I don't think there's anything else that can happen here that has anything positive attached to it.
Yeah, I just thinking of the idea of Kodaman or a heel Kodaman or a penning. I mean, Kai would be bad, but penning Yoshioka after like a less than 24-hour Dreamgate run, that's just, I think that's the fear scenario at this point for me, because I think that hurts both of them tremendously.
Yeah, that's a doomsday scenario. Absolutely. Like, I think that the company has lost the plot if that's where it goes. That's really all I've got to say about it.
Yeah.
A heel has never won in the main event at World to date. So I don't. I don't see it. I think. I don't think you needed to do it. I think you could have done Kondo and Kai on night one, and then Yoshioka versus either one on the second night, and it would have been perfectly fine. The other thing is the psychology behind the three-way tonight kind of made no sense. I think it should have just been one fall. The guy who gets the fall picks his shot. The guy who got pinned is out. The guy who won the fall picks his shot, and the other guy, the guy who didn't score a fall, gets stuck with whatever's left over, rather than having it go all the way to elimination. And I think the fact that they went that far and had Minoura get a decisive win gives a little bit of hope to the idea that it's going to be Yoshioka overcoming all of this and coming out of it. And it's given, if it's to put Minoura in this position, like Minoura keeps getting handed all of these positions, like this is something I'm going to go over on commentary. I don't want to give away too much on the mixtape because I want y'all to buy the album, but one of the common threads with a lot of chances that Minoura gets is that he doesn't deserve any of them. He just kind of walks in and takes it. So like when he got put back into King of Gate, you could feel like that collective groan of like, oh my God, they put this guy back in King of Gate. He's going to win this, isn't he? And just, his position now has become that guy of like, oh my God, Minoura's back in this. He's going to win this, isn't he? So just putting that little bit of doubt and that little bit of dread, if Yoshioka walks away from both of these nights as champion, if it was Kondo versus Kai and then Yoshioka versus Kondo or Kai, it's easy to read, right? It's like, the matches are going to be good, but obviously Yoshioka's coming out of this. I think by planting a little bit of doubt and having you think, oh my God, they've stuck Minoura in this at the last minute and he's going to win. I think putting that little bit of doubt will make it that much more cathartic when Yoshioka does win on the second night. So from that aspect, if that's what happens, I applaud it. And I think it, then I'll think, okay, I shouldn't have doubted this. But until that result happens, there is that little bit of doubt that, oh my God, they're going to abandon the guy who got super over organically and they're going to force Minoura. Does that make sense?
Oh,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. If anything, that kind of completely different promotion, it kind of was how I was feeling going into like Forbidden Door and AEW, where it's like I wasn't really enjoying the build to it, but then the show happened and I was like, okay, the show made it worth it in retrospect. And if Yoshioka overcomes Minoura after beating Kai, it'll be a very cathartic thing. And then also the fans will be like, oh, the guy who gets handed everything on a silver platter is getting his lunch served to him by the guy who's quietly been never put a wrong foot ahead of him, is taking care of business there. It will be such a cathartic.
Yeah, the guy who we went through this year and a half of Minoura being, the top push young guy, and this other guy brooded under a mask for the same amount of time, and then he took the mask off, and it turns out he's a better version of Minoura in every way. And he came out and took it and earned it. Takes the mask off. He's handsome. He's bulked up. Got a great body. His dick's huge. Everything is perfect. He should be the champion, right? So as long as that's where it goes, it's fine, and I'm willing to forgive the fact that they've stumbled a bit getting here with the timing on some of these things. But we shall see, right?
In terms of the third party in this Dreamgate fiasco, that being the champion in this case, it's weird to think that Kai's been around for 4 years now. I still have a bit of a blocker up of thinking he's some outsider that is going to eventually depart and will just act like it never happened. But he's now an integral part of their history and has had this Dreamgate run that I think has been pretty impressive, especially everything post the Yoshida defense. But what are your thoughts on Kai as a champion?
His everything when it comes to business time, he's been great. Everything in between business time has not been, has been pretty whatever.
That is always my complaint with him is the road to matches, for lack of a better term, never connect with me. But I love the Shimizu match. The Susumu match is maybe the best thing I've seen this year, and I trust him that on this stage, given his prior history, that he can deliver in this spot.
Yes, yeah, I would agree 100% with that. I think that he's, I don't think he's going into the second night as champion. So because of that, he doesn't ultimately isn't going to be like the final boss. He's the final boss, but then the unseen evil appears out of nowhere and becomes the real final boss sort of thing. And that unseen evil is Minoru, but he for a guy who had no chance of being Dreamgate champion until he just suddenly was Dreamgate champion, he's done a great job of anchoring the top of the card this year. What happens when he's not champion anymore? I don't know. But, his time as champion has been very good.
He's going to be fascinating. Like the whole state of Z-Brats will be fascinating with the prospect of what happens now. Kai, as the leader, a lot of his leadership was derived because he was champion. What happens now in Z-Brats without him with the belt in August?
Right. That's going to be something to watch, isn't it? I mean, he could win both nights. He could still be champion. You don't know. We didn't think he'd be champion at all. He could just go in and medium impact both guys, and it's done. It's done.
How can we doubt him after he had the biggest upset? He could be the first heel walking in and walking out his dream.
Walk in 2 nights. Yeah, and it could happen. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, he is. I guess this is news. I don't know, but this is like Hulk accidentally revealed this on a radio show he was on, so I guess I could say it. But I guess Kai is like officially like contracted and is Dragongate affiliated. Like it's not. I don't know if it's freelance contract like guys like Gamma and Kage used to have or what, but he's contracted now. It's not just here as a freelancer with. So I think he's not outsider champion. He's just strong heel champion.
Has there? This could be an obvious answer that I'm just not thinking of, but now that you say that, has there been an outsider that has not trained in the Dragongate system, had no real affiliation prior to debuting, that has earned a contract the way that Kai has, or is he sort of the first of this mold?
Well, there's Gamma.
Oh, true. Yeah. Okay. Michinoku Osaka's. Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah.
Who else?
Kishiwada as champion, but that was also Osaka Pro.
Yeah, I mean Kishiwada, sure. I mean he was like officially, like he was signed when he came in. Like he wasn't a freelance guy. Like he left Osaka Pro and came to Dragongate like a month later. Like that wasn't even like, hey, I'm gonna come in and freelance for a while and get a contract. Like they signed. There was there are a lot of guys that failed. I mean, there was guys like Shinobu, guys like Madoka. I mean, those guys who were around as freelancers for a long time. Well, Madoka not so much, but Shinobu was a
Ken 45 also was supposed
Ken
to come
never
in
got a
like
match. He got hurt because he was going to come in. He was going to be Kagetora's partner in something tag tournament. So yeah, a Twin Gate title tournament, and then like on the eve of it, he broke his foot.
Yeah, because it was like right after like Kagetora. It was like soon after Kagetora came in. I feel like
it was the following year. Okay, yeah, it was. Kage had turned heel again. He joined Real Hazard to team with Sugawara, and he was feuding with whoever it was. I don't know if it was Tozawa and Kamikaze guys, or if it was, I don't remember who it was, but I remember there being a promo think it was Tozawa, where he was like, "Do you know who Ken 45 is? Well, he's coming in and he's going to be my partner." And because they had like a Dr. Muscle that was breaking the guitar over people's heads. And then Ken got injured, so it ended up being Kagetora and Sugawara in the Twin Gate title tournament, and then Kagetora joined Kamikaze not too long after, something along those lines.
Yeah, that was the fun Coach Tozawa storyline with Kamikaze, if my time is lines right.
Right, yeah, 2010, yeah. So
Jay, let me
go ahead.
No, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to segue out of that, so go ahead.
Well, I'll segue out of it because unless you have any other thoughts on World, which it doesn't seem like you do, I wanted to talk briefly about the Toryumon reunion show in June. You were in the building for it. You're the guy to talk to on this anyways, but the pandemonium that happened with Ultimo saying, you guys can cheer at this show, wait, no, you can't. Can you sort of give us your oral history of that day of events and what it was like for you in the booth during that show?
He came out and just said it. There was no planning. There was no planning beforehand. Like, they didn't say, there wasn't like, okay, Dragon's going to come out after this match and say it's okay to cheer. Everything Dragon did on that show was unplanned. He came out and did that, and the building didn't know, and they got pissed. I mean, all of that stuff about Saito saying that he got the Korakuen people sat them both down and gave them a talking to. I mean, like, that happened. Renaming Mochizuki's kid was a shoot off the cuff. Like, that was impromptu. That wasn't supposed to happen.
So he was supposed to be billed as Ryoto Mochizuki,
Ryuto.
And then Ultimo said no.
Yes. So that was if you look, like, his they're not allowed to be on social media until they debut, but they're told to prepare your social media, so when you debut you can immediately go live, and you see his handle is still Mochizuki Ryuto, because that was what he was like. He was going to wrestle under his real name, and Dragon just came out and screwed all that up. And then, like, that segment, he was supposed to come out to announce Santo was coming in. Like, that's really all he was out there for. And he forgot, like, he was going to leave without doing that. And so, like, he had to turn around and come back. So, like, he was just, like, tearing up the script on that show.
He probably was just ready to get to the Maricon, go and visit Cuba or something. I mean, who knows where his head was at.
Yeah, but no, all of that was the stuff, like his match being turned into a 6-man, obviously that was known ahead of time, but everything else, the stuff with the cheering and all, like that was all just Dragon being belligerent. I don't know, it was cool. It was a cool night though. Otherwise, I mean, not as much as the first one. I mean, the first one was the first one was more of a proper tribute to the past, because they have, like, Milano was there, and it was the first time for a lot of these reunions, like, getting, Taru and Suicito and, like, doing, like, Crazy Max and all that again. It was the first time, so it's not going to be as special the second time, because there isn't a surprise that can surpass Milano in terms of someone who hasn't been there yet. So that's why the surprise this time was not looking to the past. The surprise was Mochizuki Jr., and that, we're going to celebrate the past while connecting to something.
I don't know if this is a question you can answer. Maybe you have to dance around it. Maybe it is a blanket statement and it's a bit of a simple thing. But when Ultimo came in 2019, one of my real big concerns was that, for lack of a better phrase, the worst of Ultimo was going to rear its ugly head into Dragongate. And I don't think that's happened, but this year, especially between cards not being announced ahead of time and the general vibe of some of these Korakuen shows with a lot of short matches, a lot of big angles, is he gaining influence? Is there a lot of, Ultimo behind the scenes stuff that's happening? What sort of light can you shed on that?
No, that's I mean, Saito is general manager. I mean, so take that statement for what you will.
Okay.
Obviously Dragon is there as the senior advisor for input, and I think a lot of this stuff is by necessity. Cards not being announced ahead of time, I'm with everybody on that one. At first I kind of saw it as a necessity due to COVID, in the sense that if you don't announce a card, you don't have to change the card. So that's kind of how I saw it at first, and it could still be that way. But for house shows, it doesn't really matter if you announce the card or not. And I think people are just going to show up because Dragongate is coming to town, and as long as you know that Eita is going to be on the show, or that Yamato is going to be on the show, that's enough. That's enough for you. So I think for house shows, it doesn't really matter. And for the bigger shows, for Korakuen, you usually get the main matches announced anyway. There's going to be, if there's going to be a Dreamgate title match, it's not going to be announced at bell time. You're going to know ahead of time. So ultimately, does it really matter if we know the constellation of the throwaway 10-man tag on the undercard? Probably not. But I do think that it does need to go away as we move out of if we move out of the pandemic.
Yeah, what's the I hate to ask because I've asked you every time you've come on, but what's the vibe there? Are we moving in the right direction? I know New Japan's doing cheering shows in September. Yeah,
no, it is
please.
Fucked right now. Holy shit. Japan, in terms of number of people infected, Japan is twice as high as it's ever been. Period. I mean, every prefecture is setting new records every single day. It's totally fucked. And I think the states are like this right now as well. I think actually the entire world is like this right now with the the B5 variant out there, that if you've escaped to this point without catching COVID, you're going to get it during this wave. I think that's kind of the general consensus, and it's very much that way in Japan. I'm not doing anything. I'm doing my best to stay in and not catch COVID on, the week before World and having to totally tank the English commentary. Ho-Ho's going to have to go out there he's going to have to wrestle in a match, then he's going to have to second in the Twin Gate match, and he's going to have to announce the other matches by himself. I don't want to put him through that. As far as cheering goes, the cheering is going to be up to the buildings. So the otaku shows, I think Cyberfight just ran 2 shows that had cheering.
Yeah.
I think they were given the option of, you could have cheering or you could have full capacity. And because Cyberfight, well, those were niche companies and they're not going to draw capacity there anyway, I think they just took I think it's the right decision that they took the cheering option out of those 2, just to kind of make it a special event. The thing in September, again, I think that's probably going to be a test to see how it goes. We could very well see that get scrapped, but if it goes well for New Japan, then that's going to be a sign that it's going to be okay for everybody in Korakuen Hall. Every place else, it's going to be up to the building. I think Otaku also is city owned. It's not privately owned, so there's less liability if something happens. But also, I don't think there's cheering. Was there cheering for the G1 shows in Otaku this weekend?
I haven't caught them, and I didn't see them announcing.
No, the first New Japan cheering shows are going to be the ones in September.
Yeah, so they did 2,500 people today. So yeah, I don't think they would be able to do cheering with that many people. The other thing is that I think is going to maybe put us on a positive direction on that. So there was that what's his name, Tenshin fight in the Tokyo that legitimately sold out the Tokyo Dome last month.
Right, the fight.
The fight, yeah, which did That's another thing, talking about attendances in pro wrestling. They put that fight together and they legitimately sold out the Tokyo Dome on 2 months notice.
Yeah, and after the whole Fuji TV Sakakagara.
Yeah, after all of that, I mean, it kind of shows that pro wrestling attendances, and when New Japan runs the dome and draws 2,500 or 25,000 people or 30,000 people, it was like, pro wrestling is back. Yeah, well, these guys just, they went and fucking sold out the Tokyo Dome with an MMA fight. But, it's kind of like, okay, how can I phrase this? Mixed martial arts fans in Japan are considered degenerates. I guess this is really the only other way to put it. The pride crowd, like the super rowdy, everyone is shady, everyone is kind of a scumbag.
Right.
That's really the only people that are, and it's kind of similar to when you go to UFC, it's like people like Rogan and that side of people, or it's that type of crowd where maybe whether deserved or not, it's kind of considered a low reputation thing. When you get a big fight like this, obviously because it's a big spectacle, you get celebrities and all of those people that gather for this. But otherwise, the core fan is considered like a degenerate fan base here. So because and fans that don't care about following the rules. So that's why when you watch Ryzen fights or all these other things, there's cheering and all that. That's because the people are not following the rules. Those rules are still in place for these things, but people are they don't care and they're not following them. And the other thing is things like baseball, things like mixed martial arts also kind of fall under live sports, and fan participation is kind of considered integral to the live sports experience, whereas pro wrestling falls under performance, and fan participation isn't necessarily considered. If you go to a play or you go to the theater, you don't need to chant or do things like that, and pro wrestling is kind of lumped under that for a lot of these things. So that's why it's been, you watch you watch a baseball game, or you watch the fight, or you watch whatever, and there's these noisy crowds in Japan. It's just because it's a different category. But I don't know. We'll see. If everybody doesn't die from this most recent wave, then we'll see what happens in September. But it's bad. I mean, Okinawa just put out restrictions yesterday. The government here, Tokyo, Yuriko has said that there's not going to be a state of emergency. There's not going to be any restrictions on business. We just kind of have to, people have to be responsible and stay home if they have symptoms, things like that. But Okinawa has kind of been the trendsetter. They've usually been a few steps ahead of the rest of the country in terms of where things go. I don't mean to say it this way, but because of the U.S. Army base there, Okinawa tends to go to hell before everybody else does. So I don't know. I mean, we might be squeaking in under the finishing line for World before some stuff happens, or it's just going to be all gas, no brakes. I don't know. I mean, I think it's going to be the latter, but I guess we'll see.
That is depressing to think about, but nonetheless, thank you for that input. Jay, I have one more question for you. I don't know if Mike has anything, but we were talking on the show last week, and I don't even remember how it came up, but we started discussing what we think the most viewed Dragongate matches from Western fans are of all time. And obviously, I think Blood Generation versus Do Fixer from Ring of Honor would be the number one. I think the four-way match from August of 2003 would be number two. But in your mind, just real quick, what are the matches that you think have almost penetrated another bubble that have really granted either Toryumon or Dragongate a noticeable amount of buzz over here?
I mean, it's hard to think beyond the ROH 6-man. I mean, it's got to be something with Ricochet or something with Pac. I mean, the stuff from the Blood Generation like 2011, 2012 stuff, it's got to be that. I know a lot of people have gone back to watch Pac versus KZ.
Yeah,
So
that was a big one.
from a more modern perspective, that match. Beyond that, maybe something from Torimon, maybe like Darkness Dragon versus Dragon Kid.
The first T2P show as a whole was one that was thrown out that I thought was interesting.
Yeah, I don't think now though. I think back then, yes, but I think that as time has gone on, that the legacy or the lore of that show has been kind of lost to the people that were there when it happened. Like when it went, like I thought there would be a little more fanfare when it went up on the network, but there really wasn't. So I think that is just kind of important in the time that it happened, sort of thing, but maybe not so much now. I don't know. What else did you guys come up with? I think it's hard to go beyond the ROH match, like, or something from, or like, like Shingo versus Danielson or something like that, But I mean, does that count? I mean, personally, like for me, that doesn't count. Anything that happened in Dragon Gate USA is not Dragon Gate per se.
Sure.
The other ones that I know we thought of were Shingo versus Hulk, the hair match, Mochizuki versus Shingo, and then a few people on the Voices of Wrestling Discord brought up one that I hadn't thought of that Shingo and Hulk versus Kenta and Ishimori match. We felt like that got passed around quite a bit.
Yeah, I think so. That's a pretty good shout, just because it's Kenta.
Yeah,
it's weird too because it was on like a big show that wasn't really a big show. Yeah, that's a pretty good shout. What else? I mean, it would have to be something with Shima in it, or something with Toza.
The other idea I had, but not a specific match, just from like noticing at least response from not habitual Dragon Gate viewers, was, I don't know if I would say it was this year, but I would imagine that Dead or Alive cage matches, if you're doing like a top 25, would rank pretty high, just because of how Western interest is, like specifically towards that match.
Yeah, I think the one with the one with Hulk, the Hulk turn or the Yamato turn, either one of those is a pretty good shout.
2016, I think.
Yeah, 2014, 2016, either one of those is interchangeably a pretty good shout.
And that whole 2014 Dead or Alive, that has Mochi Fuji versus Tozawa Shingo, which maybe wasn't a giant pop, but that Flamita versus Susumu match was another one that got mentioned, of just a match that just got around. I think people put eyes on that don't normally have eyes on Dragon Gate, and that's that's not a historically significant match, but I think over here, way more so than in Japan, that match mattered to some people.
I think in terms of GIF importance, that match falls pretty high.
It gave Flamita an entire career.
Yeah, I don't know how many people have actually seen the match itself as opposed to just seeing the GIFs.
Oh, the middle rope 450, yeah.
Yeah, the middle rope 450. That's probably that or the more modern, the monkey Skywalker's monkey flip off the apron on KZ. But I think that those are neck and neck in terms of GIFs featuring Dragon Gate guys. Anyway, from a Dragon Gate show. I'm sure you can figure what GIF I'm thinking of when I say that, but in terms of GIFs from a Dragon Gate show featuring Dragon Gate guys that has been passed around, I think those two win. Yeah, that's a good call too. God, what else? Or Pac Falcon arrowing Dragon Kid off the top rope and almost killing.
Yeah, what a match. I missed that Pac run.
Yeah.
I was really like, this world needed him defending that AEW title. on one of these nights. Like that was
Oh, that was
that's like the kind of spark that these shows needed. Okay, before we move on to anything else, just before we move on from World, let me make sure we've run down everything because a bunch of stuff got announced to get any less. So we talked about Kagetora's match, we talked about Ishikawa's match, we talked about the Brave Gate match, talked about the Twin Gate match, talked about Dragon Kid's match. So second night we've got, did we talk about the three-way for the Triangle Gate? Yeah, we did. Okay, yeah, I think we've covered everything for World. So is there anything else related to World before we change to other topics?
I can't really think of too much, Jay. I think we've gotten all of that covered. But bringing up like a Pac All-Atlantic title shot, like that actually, with how they're using that belt, that would have been the Fujiwara send-off match.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, it's so unbelievable. I think it may be better as a challenge match for like SB or something to make it a little more competition, because Pac coming in to wrestle Fujiwara would have just been like, it's not believable that Fujiwara could last any. Like, I mean, he wrestled the kid from New Japan.
Yeah, he had
Umino.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess he's got a little more of a career behind him now, though. So I guess it makes. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, just anything. But that's politics, right?
Yeah. So a question I had, and I guess really we can start wrapping things up from that. As the summer has gone on, we've seen more and more Dragon Gate wrestlers go on excursion. We've already seen Fujiwara and Estrella. More are coming. Something that this kind of was reminding me in a way, but completely different, was the first launching of the Dragon Gate Trueborns excursion, Shingo, and then the short ones for Hulk and Yamato. What would you would like fans to keep in mind, especially I guess fans in North America, if they get a chance to see some of these guys? Like Estrella has the visa, as we've talked about, and has been booked more and more places. What are the things you would like to see fans get out of this excursion, and what would you like to see the wrestlers get out?
I mean, it's exposure both ways. I mean, Estrella, I think, will do well to just immerse himself in like the traditional lucha culture, and that style, and just learn as much as he can on that. I don't know if he necessarily needs to go and make his name in North America as much as he just needs to absorb everything that, learn as much as he can while he's over there. And Takuma, probably the same thing. I think Takuma has kind of Eita potential, the Eita before and after. But the other guys, it's just get the Dragon Gate name out there. Ho was saying, when he was in the U.S. for his tour over the winter, like he goes and talks to people, and they're like, yeah, I love Dragon Gate. I love that match from 15 years ago. Or I like, they only know, if they know any, the most recent person that they would know is Yamato. They don't know Shin Skywalker. They don't know Benkei. They don't know anybody from this modern, the modern group, and the guys that are Dragon Gate now. So, and everybody is going to get a chance to go. Some immediately, some long term, some very, some guys are just going to go on vacation and take some bookings while they're over there. It's going to be long. It's all going to be very different. But I think just getting the name out there and associating these new faces with Dragon Gate is the most important part of all of this. It would be nice to have a show, be able to do like a full Dragon Gate in the US show, and who knows if it's going to come down to that. I mean, flight, just plane tickets are so expensive right now that it wouldn't be worth it to fly these many guys over there to do a show, because I just don't think that there's, even if you're piggybacking off of all, is there like a proper AEW weekend now, or indies piggyback off of AEW stuff, or are we still too?
Yeah, really, it's the Las Vegas show, Double or Nothing in May. There's piggyback, and then coming up over Labor Day, All Out, there's going to be significant piggyback. I know AEW announced a show for Thursday, and GCW has announced like I don't think they're calling it the Collective anymore, but GCW is having a full weekend of stuff there as well. So we're seeing the piggybacking extend to AEW.
Yeah, I mean, I think piggybacking off AEW is better, just in terms of the people that would be willing. Like, what happens on WrestleMania weekend now? I mean, like, I don't know. I mean, is that
a lot of really bad GCW shows, and
Right.
then you kind of hope that the high spots contingent, with all the luchadors they bring over, they normally, like, they had some pretty fun stuff this year, some stuff that I think looked good on paper, and then some stuff that over delivered. But those have become the camps now that Gabe's not there. Is you get GCW, so a lot of comedy and a lot of death match, and then you get the high spots crew, which is your other indie superstars, and then the connections that they have in Mexico.
Gotcha? Well, I mean,
And then I think after that, we're also going to start seeing the StarCast Conrad verse start doing stuff there, and that's going to be all tribute stuff.
Well, I mean, what do you think? What do you think would be the best bet to piggyback off of? I mean, is it still Mania weekend just because of the sheer volume of people going, or has that started to
That doesn't mean as much as it used to. Now,
No.
I don't think the all out weekend stuff, that Labor Day weekend run, that doesn't have the prestige yet. But if I was lining up a show, that would be the weekend that I would target. That has upward trajectory. Mania has downward trajectory.
Yeah, that's, I mean, from the outside, that's the impression I got on that. But it's also like the weird politics of another Japanese promotion running, piggybacking on an AEW weekend when they've got, their hands in so many different, they've got New Japan partnership and Omega trying to force the DDT partnership, and then all the different women's promotions, and I don't know if there'd be weird. I don't know if it would become like a weird outlaw show, so not outlaw mud show, but trying to run a Dragongate show that weekend up against, when there would be these other guys from AEW matriculating out onto the other indie shows that are going on. Like, if the Dragongate show would become an island in and of itself because of the politics, that's something else to consider. But that's just me making an ass pull on that. Like, there could be absolutely no politics whatsoever, and could have Pac on the show or whatever it is. But I mean, those are all different sorts of things to consider going forward. But in terms of excursions, I think the most important part of all of this is for the young guys to just get experience and find themselves. And for other guys, it's important for them to just go away so they can freshen up. And for other guys, it's just go and have a good vacation and get some matches, get booked against, whatever shows are going on during you're out there, and just while you're out there, and just try to have a great match and get some buzz around it, so people think, wow, I haven't thought about Dragongate in a long time, I should go check them out.
And I think, I think that next year, I would say going forward, All Out weekend would be where to focus. Next year, Mania's in LA. So that has a certain cachet that normally, like, if they were in Dallas again, what does it mean for Dragongate to run Dallas? But running LA, that's a bigger name thing that, at least, like, if someone's pulling up the mobile site and it's like, oh, they had a show in LA this week, that's big, and they would recognize that, other than random suburb of Dallas, Texas.
Shorter flight too. Well, this was, I mean, it was in, I guess I could talk about this. I mean, it was in the original article that leaked, or, well, not leaked, but I guess got announced, like the Masked Republic article, talking about, visas for Noah guys, visas for Dragongate guys, and that they were considering running a show that weekend if possible, and all that. And it's true that it's being considered. But consider is the key word there. It's kind of like if it becomes cost feasible, we would certainly look into it, sort of thing. So I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens. They told me, I asked if they wanted me to do commentary. They said yes, but I'm pretty sure that's if you can fly yourself there, you can do commentary, sort of thing. I don't think I'm gonna get the flight, but I haven't been home in 7 years now, so maybe I should just bite the bullet and fly myself out, go home, and then go to LA for that. But I guess we'll see.
Well, Case, did you have any other questions you wanted to bring up before we get out of here?
No, I've covered all the bases I need to cover.
Yeah, well, Jay, thank you yet again for coming on to the show. Was there anything else you wanted to plug before we got out of here?
No mailbag this time.
Oh, did not. We're sneaking and dropping this on the listeners this time.
Oh, it's a stealth drop. Got it. I mean, that's how you do things in the streaming universe now. It's no promotion, right? It's just stealth drop.
We're taking a note from Beyonce. Open the Voice Gate is studying that playbook.
Exactly.
Well, despite my best efforts over the last 2 hours, I would still encourage people to watch Kobe World this coming weekend. We've got some good stuff coming up. I'm sure ultimately, even if the path to get here hasn't been as clean or as straight as we wanted it to be, and the momentum that you would like to see for a Kobe Pro Wrestling Festival weekend maybe isn't there. I am still pretty confident in what is there is going to deliver, even if it's just some good matches on the undercard, or hopefully what is the crowning of a new, we're going to get, we've got 2 championship matches. We've got a 66% chance of having a new Dreamgate champion. And we have to probably do some Steiner math on that, because it's there's a 50-50 chance on the first night. And if Kai loses, it drops, that makes it 100% chance. But if Kai wins, the 50% chance then turns to something like that. But either way, I mean, there's a pretty good chance that we're going to have a new Dreamgate champion, and it's going to, either way, even if it's just a lot of stuff that's to be continued, it's going to be the show that sets up everything that goes down in the back half of the year. Remember last year after World, Saito became the GM, Yoshino retired, all of that, and it became a true new era for the company. And the year before that it happened in November, but the year before that was Dragon coming back. So usually stuff happens coming out of World. So this is if you've tuned out, I don't know if anyone that's tuned out of Dragongate is going to make it this far in the show. I don't know what your demographics are. But if you're someone that is tuned out and you're listening to this and you're on the fence, by all means, maybe wait until August 1st and then watch them both on demand, so you can still get all of everything that's coming up in August. But a lot of stuff coming up, a lot of guys that are going to be coming, maybe showing up in your neighborhood sooner or later, depending on if you're somewhere in North America. So you can follow me. I haven't tweeted in like 2 months, but if you can follow me at DG_J. Please follow the official English Twitter account at DragongateEN. We're going to be live tweeting the contract signings. They're going to be live on the network, but that's just hard cam. So we'll be live tweeting from the fan party. Maybe some pictures of guys in suits. I know that's always the fashion roll call is always very popular.
It's a huge hit. Yeah.
Yeah, it's it's a needle mover. So we'll have that. So follow us for everything this weekend, and that's it. That's all I got. And and observe this, brother. Should I throw the dirt sheets in the garbage can?
Hey, I mean, it's something that Hulk Hogan did not have very many good ideas, but throwing in the trash can, that was an idea he had.
Okay, I know I just closed out, but let me say this. And this is a generic statement regarding wrestling regarding journalism in general, because this was something that kind of came up over the last feud with the stuff coming out of WWE, with Vince retiring and then Lesnar supposedly leaving, but then Lesnar being on the show and it kind of being like this big gotcha that, the dirt sheets were wrong, because Lesnar was on the show, he didn't leave. And, all of those sorts of things. And I think that we need to, people need to remember that you may have a legitimate source, but you have to consider your source's angle for giving you this information on a lot of this. And where I'm going with this is in terms of Japanese wrestling, I don't, because news from North American wrestling is ultimately easily accessible. If something happens, if you're someone like the Wrestling Observer, or if you're someone like, any of these other places that sell wrestling news, I know I'm kind of giving a backhanded insult to the platform that this that this podcast is on, but if you've got a Patreon and you sell wrestling news, you live and die by whether or not you have unique information, right? And it's tough. It's even more difficult now to get unique information out of North American wrestling because there are so many different avenues or places that you can get it, right? And news out of Japan is kind of the white whale on that, in the sense that unless maybe you get a little bit out of a foreigner that's working over here, but people have to remember that foreigners that work over here get kayfabed just as hard as people outside of the company on a lot of these things, where a lot of it is only like on a need to know basis. You need to know your match. You need to know what time to be on the bus. Otherwise you don't know anything that's going on. So that's why I think ultimately people are quick to believe and not verify a lot of news that comes out of Japan because they want to have that news and be the ones that break it or on that. And in terms of stuff that relates specifically to Dragongate and the various type of stuff that went out, I think that ultimately with a lot of outlets, it shows that Dragongate is still a very minor promotion, and it doesn't warrant vetting the news. Because it's Dragongate, it doesn't really matter whether this news is correct or not, because it's just a blurb in our newsletter, or it's just a blurb on our radio show, or what. So ultimately, it's up to us in Dragongate to make it so we become a promotion that is worthy of having its news verified. And that's my take.
I think that's a very fair way of putting it, Jay. And I think that that's something that all of us, including me, should keep in mind when we are doing coverage as well.
Yeah, I think that there's been news out of Noah that some of it is right, some of it is wrong. There's been news out of here. You've got people like, I don't want to put them on blast, but there's some people that will give news to retain, to try and make clout and keep themselves relevant, or you've got people that are just out to fuck with people and to catfish people, which is what we saw with this. And there's other places that will have an agenda on a lot of things. I don't want to get too much into this, but stuff related to New Japan and stuff that's going on, stuff like with Harold May or stuff like Dick Togo. I think that a lot of the places that have that information got it from their sources, and their sources are legitimate, but their sources had an angle that that they were trying to, the most recent thing I could think of would be like Kota Ibushi, and that I think a lot of people have no idea what's going on with this guy. And so the people that are feeding people like the rest, that are places like the Wrestling Observer that are trying to, feed them information on this situation, they're doing it in a way to not expose too much of the reality of what's going on with him, because New Japan is trying to salvage what's left on the contract. And and ultimately it doesn't matter, because he's a very disturbed individual that needs a lot of help, But at the same time, I also think that it doesn't help that the story was presented in a way that just has people saying, well, once he's away from New Japan, he can go to AEW, he can go to back to DDT, he can go to Noah, he can go to wherever and continue his career and be back to happy, wholesome Kota. Like, that's not the case. I mean, there's a lot going on there that, so because a lot of that, I think I find a lot of the reporting around that to be irresponsible. But that's another story. Ultimately, it's up to you, the listener, to decide whether you want to believe news that is out there or not. But you guys as reporters, the listeners as people that follow all this, and me as someone that has to be careful with what I say because I'm not a fan anymore, and I can get in trouble for some of the stuff I say now. We all need to be more thoughtful in how we approach the information that we're given on a lot of this, and the people that are out there, because the people that are out there to cause chaos with it and to have fun with it and to create sock puppet accounts on Reddit and post the fake news that they themselves are spreading in an effort to get this get fake stuff out there. It extends beyond pro wrestling, obviously, that this is just disinformation thing now. But this is a long roundabout way of saying all of that stuff that came out about Dragongate is was all sock puppet tales from my ass stuff, and it was all bullshit. But it has come around to where we're all unhappy with Nosawa, and we want him to go away because the Triangle Gate has been dragged through the fucking mud, and we're just tired. We want Eita back. We've missed. I'm going to turn this around and end this on a positive note, in that I feel that we've wasted the peak, the most delicious period in a pro wrestler's career is when they've been a heel for 5 years and they finally turn babyface. And we missed that window for Eita on that, and it's fucked. And I hope Peros lose on the first night and we're done with it, because I want Eita to take a meaningful role in Dragongate going forward, because he needs to. He's only 30. I know he's a veteran, but he's he's still a guy that we should be talking about when we're talking about guys like, well, who could be the Dreamgate champion next? And as long as he's mixed up in the stuff that's going on in Noah, we're not going to be able to do that, and that's fucked. Like, I want it over with. So I'm unhappy with the booking.
Yeah, I mean, Jay, I was leading the parade for the Summer of Eita this year. It felt like this was the time.
Yeah.
And I mean, hopefully, 30, you should be entering your prime as a wrestler if you haven't picked up a lot of injuries. And this felt like the window. And the hope is that after all this Peros stuff is done and we can bury it and act like it never happened, that we could still get that. If it's not a Summer of Eita, who's to say we can't have a winter or a spring?
Or at least just get him into something meaningful. Like, he doesn't even need to be the guy that beats Yoshioka, but as long as he is just in something, I don't know if you want to put him with Daya Yuki and Kakuta, that's fine. If you want to put him in gold class, that's fine. You want to put him in high end, that's fine. I don't know if high end's going to be around much longer, but if high end is going to stick around, a retooled high end with Yamato, Eita, Dragon Kid, Kagetora, and maybe Ishin, and Benkei goes to Z-Brats. That's cool. That's perfectly fine. But just get him into something and not just have him be on these fucked up undercard tags.
Or those weird dry undercard singles matches that he's been going through over the last month. I miss him and Maria together. I thought that was an incredibly compelling story, and I don't like the end of that. That Twin Gate match from Osaka is one of the best matches I've seen this year.
It wasn't supposed to happen. So let me tell this story. Here's some. So essentially, it was just going to be Decourage against Hyo and SB, but then they came up with the idea of doing the Twin Gate match for Daya's homecoming. So they didn't want to do the match twice, so they threw Eita and Santa Maria in that match. So it was never meant to be anything beyond that little 2 week.
That was one hell of a 2-week story. I really enjoyed that. And then Eita was right back to doing Pero stuff, and it felt like that was all a waste.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
And it was a waste. I mean, ultimately, there's only so much you could do with Santa Maria in 2021. I mean, I almost think that going back to the Shenlong character is a bit of a step forward, kind of progress. I mean, I don't know. I mean, ultimately, it's a drag character, and I don't know if that character is appropriate anymore. I mean, I know that there's okay, I have to choose my words very carefully here. I know that there's this kind of thought that the Yosuke Santa Maria character is a properly like a trans character, or because the person playing the character is trans themselves. And I think that ultimately that has been a very detrimental misconception, because it makes it very difficult to handle the character going forward. Because let's say there's someone that is transitioning that has taken Yosuke Santa Maria as a positive influence on them. Just turning it into, just having Yosuke Santa Maria go back to being whatever, I mean, it's not a good look. I'll just leave it I'll say it that way, because I can't think of another way to say it. But ultimately, it is a drag character and not a trans character. So because of that, there is that separation of the person in the makeup and inside of the ring and outside of the ring, so to speak, on stage and off stage. But I think the on stage character of Yosuke Santa Maria I don't know if there's much left. There's much left there. So if they were using the team with Eita as a way to move away from that, then yeah, it was valuable. But ultimately, they didn't go in that direction. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know if going back to Shenlong and just suddenly having them being out there shirtless is a good way to do it either in a comedy gimmick. But I don't know. I don't know. I mean, you could also make Eita a kung fu guy. I don't know. It could be like the Sammo Hung.
I have been campaigning hard for an Eita Jason Lee tag team at some point. So if that's the avenue we have to go down to get it, then I'm more than okay with that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
yeah, because Jason came in 2017, and that's right when Eita turned.
Yeah, right. It was September, and then Eita turned in. Right, yeah. So yeah, that'd be a cool team. I mean, also Eita just generally being an exciting wrestler again. Exciting is kind of I know it feels like I'm kind of trashing the wrestling he does now, because Eita is very good. Eita is still very compelling when he wants to be, but Eita going back to kind of being babyface, flashy. I don't know if he can still do that stuff anymore, though. I mean, his neck is messed up, his shoulders messed up. I don't know if we'll be. I don't think we'll ever see moonsault over the post Eita again. But Eita leading a group like post Natural Vibes Jack, or like a group with like Ishin and Kikuta. I mean, it's very compelling and very exciting to think about, just because it's been 5 years.
Yeah.
So because of that, we just, a lot of people haven't seen that. I mean, I remember getting a message sometime in 2018, just like a DM, or maybe it was just a mention on Twitter, where someone was like, I got sold on Eita as this really exciting, high flying submission guy, and I watch him and he's just this shitty Rudo. And one, I thought that was a really weird message to send me, because I had nothing to do with it. But I mean, most people, heel Eita is the only Eita that they know. So like the Eita that had the Brave Gate, that did those matches against Tozawa and all that stuff. I mean, like, I don't know how much of that he still has in him, but I would sure like to see some of that come back, because I think people will be really surprised and pleased with that. But we got to get him away from fucking Paros before. Even if you just do Paros here and get actually like a group of people dedicated to it, so you have a dedicated team to put him in. It's the random undercard tag death slot, and it's just a waste to have him in it, be locked into that position on every single show. Has been, I think, out of everything, that's been the big miss of the first half of this year.
And it's something that's somewhat discordant, for lack of better words. Like, you have, like, okay, here's Fuji, Maria, and Problem Dragon. And then you have the other two come out on Ada's team. And then Ada comes out to overdrive the Mirage, and the crowd is clapping aloud, really into it. And then the match happens, and they just kind of sit on their hands because it's like, why is Ada?
Right. I mean, you can see it too. And when you go back to those first shows in February and March, when he was coming out with the solo entrance and the reaction to that, and you can see how that's died down. I mean, it still gets a reaction, but it's not near what it was several months ago. So I really think they missed the peak on that. I don't know if choosing to not run him with Ishida, that's fine, but I don't know. I mean, Ishida's in, but yeah, I hope the back half of this year has something substantial for Eita to do, and I hope it does not involve Paros, because that's not substantial.
Yeah,
I mean, it looks bad, like he goes and he's going over main eventing the Noah show, in front of like a 20% capacity crowd. It's like, he's not doing anything in Dragongate, so he can do this. Like, fuck, man. Like, and I don't even mean that in a disrespectful way to Noah, but like, it's not his home promotion, and he should be doing like the stuff that he's doing outside of his promotion. That's fine, but it shouldn't be a handicap to what he's doing in his home promotion. It should be extra. Like Mochizuki can go and do all the Noah matches he wants, because it's not a handicap to what he does when he comes back home. And that's the problem where it's coming up for Eita, is that it's stuck him in the mud in his home promotion for almost 9 months now.
Do you know how Eita going to Noah came about? Was that something
Yes.
that he bargained for, that he negotiated for?
No, he ran into Nosawa at a bar in Yotsuya one night, and Nosawa pitched it to him, and he said yes.
Oh, to run into Nosawa at a bar at night, what could come of that?
Yeah, no, I mean, it was literally that light. Like, there wasn't negotiations or anything back and forth. It's just like, hey, I'm going to do Paros. You want to come do it? You're not doing anything right now. And Eita was like, yes. I mean, anything related to Paro or Perito, Eita's going to jump and do it. So the way Noah does their units, I mean, eventually, like, the Paros will probably be disbanded sooner than later, right? I mean, it seems to be the way they do things.
Especially in the junior division, more so.
Right. But I mean, Nosawa owns the trademark. That's why when they did the little thing after Dead or Alive, when they did the fake contract expiration thing, that it was so believable that they could just go and be Pero somewhere else, because Nosawa is the one that owns the trademark in Japan. So like, if they quit Noah, they could take Peros and show up in Dragongate, or show up, wherever, or start a promotion as Peros, whatever it is they were going to do. So that's why it helps. Then they did like the summer of Peros turned into the summer of Punk, and that it was over in 2 weeks, right? And they were just back on the show 10 days later, after going through all this time to do this elaborate work to try and confuse people and trick people, and like they couldn't even wait until after World. But anyway, So I wrapped up like 20 minutes ago, and now we've been talking. Sorry.
Oh, it's no worries.
Sorry.
No problem whatsoever, Jay. It's been an absolute blast having you on here again, and you've already done your plugs.
I have. I'm done. Watch the show. Buy the shirt. Buy Ho Ho Loon's shirts.
There we go. Everyone go buy Ho Ho Loon shirt. Well, thank you again, Jay. And that's going to do it for us this week on Open the Voice Gate. We'll be back reviewing 2 Nights in Kobe. Take care, everyone.